with a friend that needs this information tonight, because we've got a lot that we're going to be talking about here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're new to this channel, thank you so much. Hit that subscribe button for me. That kind of helps the algorithm to be able to know that we're live here. Share it out with a friend. We're going to be talking about, obviously, the upcoming winter storm here that we're going to be expecting here as we get into this weekend. You may have already seen it today, but a lot of eastern and parts of northeastern Georgia are now already under a winter storm watch, which will likely be upgraded to a winter storm warning sometime during the day tomorrow. So we'll definitely be keeping you guys updated on that. Also, make sure you're following our Facebook page, because that's where we do put out a lot of the hourly information throughout the day, and then we do these live streams here in the evening. So if you're kind of wanting to get some updates throughout the day, go to our Facebook page, link on the YouTube channel here, facebook.com Extreme Weather Videos. Follow us there on Facebook for those updates throughout the day, and then be sure to be here in the evening for our live streams here. So Jeff, great to see you. Thanks for hopping in the live chat out there in Athens. I know we've got folks in out in Loganville and Monroe and up in North Carolina and out in Mississippi that are watching here as well. So we're going to kind of dive into the latest here for our next winter storm. So kind of what's changed here. Well, let's kind of take it to, like we always do here, we like to start with a big picture look and then kind of zoom in on some different areas. Obviously, we'll be taking your guys' questions as well, so you can definitely drop those in the live chat, and we'll be answering those here a little bit later on in the stream. So let's kind of dive into what we're looking at here with the latest information. So here is the big picture. So obviously, you can see here, this is the United States. This is our precipitation type map. So everything is clear over the southeast, but as we get into Friday night into Saturday morning, we've got this little wave of energy that's kind of out here over Oklahoma and Arkansas that's going to be tracking east-southeast, an upper level low. It's going to combine with a Gulf low that's going to be crossing the state of Florida and then kind of shoot up to the east. So here we go. There's that first peak at that low here tomorrow morning. And then as we go through the day, we'll start seeing that Gulf moisture increase through the day. And then we'll start to see even a little bit of snow potentially all the way up into parts of Kentucky and over into Virginia. And not expecting a whole lot of snowfall with that, but that is kind of the making of our low pressure system. And there it is. There's that low pressure system that kind of develops here over northern Georgia, eastern Tennessee, somewhere in that area. This is the 500 millibar low pressure system. Good evening, Candace. Thanks for joining in the live chat. And then we'll kind of see that system. It's going to basically end up crossing over Georgia through the morning on Saturday. So this snow that we'll have in Georgia, it's going to start early on Saturday morning. We're talking it could be starting as early as 5 to 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. It'll be working from kind of north to south or northwest towards kind of south-southeast across the state throughout the day on Saturday. And we'll then, this is the other interesting thing with this system, is that there's really almost two little low pressure systems that are going to kind of form. There's our main low, but preliminary out here east of Florida, there's a low. And then we can see here we've got our snow kind of back here over eastern Tennessee, northern Georgia, and the Carolinas, right? And then that low, basically it's going to lift off to the north and northeast, and it's going to intensify. And then it'll be out of our way, but it'll leave all that really, really cold temperatures in its wake, which we're going to see throughout the day on Saturday, and especially as we go Saturday night into Sunday morning. So that's a big picture at what we're looking at now. Last night, if you were on the live stream last night, I know not everyone here was, but if you were, we talked about some of the moisture that is needed for us to be able to get some of these snowfall totals. So I'm going to recap that real quick, because one thing that I didn't mention that I've seen a little bit of today and some of these dry pockets of air with our upper air moisture. All right, so this is our 700 millibars. So again, this is a couple miles above our heads, right? Maybe like 2 or 3 kilometers above our heads. And so here it is. We'll kind of fast forward into time. This is the moisture. All these blues and greens, that's nice moist air. That's what we need for snow. And then you'll see this brown shading here on the map. That's the dry air. So we got a stream of dry air that's kind of being pulled in from the northeast. And basically, if you follow that stream, it wraps around into that low. And then we've got another stream of dry air here over the Gulf of America, right? And what we'll have to watch for is if we get this dry air to kind of infiltrate into the system. Now, one thing we have seen, and this is why our probabilities across Georgia have gone up. This is why we've had that winter storm watch that has now been issued, because we've pretty much seen pretty consistently today that this low does track across kind of central and then down into southeast Georgia, and allowing all that moisture that is going to be needed here to overspread pretty much all of north and most of central Georgia, right? And then it kind of moves away, and we'll see that dry air kind of filtering behind it as it lifts off to the north. So that is the good news, is we are seeing the moisture that we're going to need here in place on Saturday for us to have all snow. And again, this is going to be an all snow event this evening. Judy, great to have you on there from Lilburn. Thanks for joining tonight. So this is going to be an all snow event, very different from what we had this past weekend into the beginning part of this week, where it was an all ice event and no snow. The other thing is, this is not going to be that heavy wet snow that we're kind of, in a sense, typically accustomed to seeing here in Georgia. This is actually going to be more of a very light, fluffy, powdery snow. You can't really pack it and, make a snowball and throw it at someone, because it'll just basically, when you go to throw it, it'll just fall apart and disintegrate. So it's going to be that very light, fluffy snow that we're going to see with this storm system. But because of that, and because of the very cold temperatures that we're going to see on Saturday, most areas aren't going to get out of the 20s on Saturday. Just an FYI, heads up for you, Saturday is going to be very cold. Most areas won't get out of the 20s. That is going to allow our snowfall rates to actually be much higher than, say, if it was 32 or 33 degrees and the snow, was coming down. So the snowfall rates can tend to be much higher. So an inch of rain at, that becomes snow at 34 degrees may only be, 4 or 5 inches of snow. But when we're getting down into the 20s and we have nice dry air, a really cold column of air, that can increase our snowfall ratios and our snowfall totals that we see on the ground with that light fluffy snow. So instead of being, a 4-to-1 ratio with warmer temperatures, this may be closer to a 15-to-1 ratio, and it's going to vary place to place, but a 15-to-1 ratio to even maybe a 20-to-1 ratio in some spots. So when we're looking at snowfall maps, a lot of times on social media, you'll see the common 10-to-1 snowfall ratio, right? This is a lot of times what you'll see. Something like this. This is a 10-to-1 ratio map, okay? So it doesn't tell the whole picture, and it can be a little bit deceiving. There's another map that you sometimes see, and it's called the Kuchera ratio, and this is actually more indicative of that lighter fluffy snow, drier air, and it is more like a 15-to-1 roughly snowfall ratio. So take a look at this. Let's kind of zoom in here on the southeast, and then we'll zoom in on Georgia and South Carolina. So we'll see this again. This is going to start early Sunday morning across far north Georgia, right? So we're talking the mountains, maybe even as early as Friday night. This could kind of come in earlier. By 6 a.m., we've already got snow on the ground through much of Georgia. This is the European model, the Kuchera ratio that I was telling you about. So we've got, an inch and a half, maybe even 2 inches over towards Atlanta. And then even some higher totals out east, maybe Athens, possibly 4 to 5 inches, not out of the question. And then over in the Carolinas, we could see some pretty impressive totals. Some places could get over half a foot of snow. Again, this is going to be that light, fluffy snow, so it is going to really stack up pretty quick. Vanessa, thanks for hopping in there from Lilburn as well. Great to see you on the live stream tonight. Folks, if you're just joining, be sure to drop where you're watching from. We'll be taking questions here in just a little bit as we get closer into kind of some more of the local forecast here for your area where you're watching from. So again, it is going to be a quick storm. This is going to be in Saturday morning and most likely gone by Saturday late afternoon into early evening, right? So it stops snowing pretty much at that point. Snow's gone. By Monday morning you wake up, it's not snowing anymore. Snow's still on the ground. It hasn't melted probably, but it's not snowing anymore. So let's take a look at some of this total snowfall here for the Southeast. So, we're talking decent totals here. This is the 10-to-1 ratio, so you can really see the difference between the 10-to-1 ratio here, which is at about 1.2 inches up to 3.5, and then we look at the same thing with our Kuchera ratio, which again, you're not going to see this as much, but this is to me a little bit more probable with the type of snow that we're expecting, where it could be closer to 2 inches to Atlanta and maybe even up toward 5 in eastern Georgia, right, and especially along the state line. Again, this is still subject to change, but we're really starting to get into that 48-hour time period now where we're really starting to be able to see some of these higher totals and more accurate amounts. So, again, here's that higher look, and you can see, again, huge difference in snowfall from west to east, right? If you live on the west side of Atlanta, some of these counties aren't even under a winter storm watch yet. There is the potential that they could be added tomorrow. They could also issue a winter weather advisory for the western counties of Georgia. But really from Atlanta eastward, all of that area is already under that winter storm watch. And Austin and Allie, thanks for joining out there from Monroe, Georgia. So you're kind of out closer to Athens. So again, Atlanta, maybe 1.5 inches up to 2 inches. Further east, Snellville, 2 to 2.5. Further east, once you get out toward Loganville, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4. That Loganville, Monroe, Walton County, I think really from east to west, the west side of the county could look very different from the east side of the county. There in Walton County. So the west side of the county could be maybe 2 to 2.5 inches. And then as you get out closer to the eastern side of the county there, you could potentially be up to 5 inches of snow. Again, this is all still subject to change, but that's kind of some of the latest thinking with these higher snowfall ratios that we're looking at, about 15-to-1. So again, if you think about when it rains here in Georgia. Right, and we're like, we're expecting 1/2 inch of rainfall today to fall. If we were to get a 1/2 inch of rain at these 15-to-1 ratios, that would be roughly 7.5 inches of snow. So for every inch of rainfall, it's 15 inches of snow. That's kind of how it works. Just a rough idea for you. So with these higher ratios, it doesn't take a whole lot of rain difference from one county to the next to make a big difference. So that there's going to be a lot more variability with this event across Georgia, literally not just for a region, but it could be from one town to the next, where if we have a big burst of rain in the upper atmosphere that comes down over an area or it sits there for an hour longer, that could easily add another inch or another 2 inches to a location, and then 20 minutes down the road, they may only have 2 inches of snow. So it is going to widely vary. There's a lot of volatility that can happen with this type of snow system. So that is one thing that we're looking at. Obviously, we do have a lot more confidence once we get into the Carolinas. As you can see here, again, I do think that some of these numbers that you're seeing here, 9 inches, 10 inches, down toward the coast, 9 inches, I think there will be some pockets where there could be, some higher totals like that, but I don't think it's going to be super widespread. I think that it's going to really depend on where some of those heavier snow bands kind of set up. Another big difference with this is that there's really no to extremely little any sort of ice threat with this. Again, it's going to be so cold. Temperatures are going to be in the 20s that this is going to come all down as snow for all of us here in Georgia. There might be a little bit of ice that develops somewhere along the coast of Carolina, but even that's going to be so meager. It's not really going to have a huge impact out there. All right, first question here. Vanessa asking, how will the roads be on Sunday, specifically down toward Milledgeville? The roads are going to, with the temperatures, the roads will quickly turn slick on Saturday, right? And then as those temperatures, Sunday morning, we're talking temperatures could be on the order of being in the teens on Saturday in many areas and farther north on Sunday. Now, Milledgeville is kind of down here, kind of southeast of Athens, kind of between Macon and Augusta. So we can kind of take a look at so there's Friday, and then as we get into Saturday, they'll, again, be down in the 20s for most of the day Saturday. I mean, look at some of these temperatures Saturday night, 16, 15. So, again, it'll pretty much be the same road conditions between here and Milledgeville. Those roads will quickly start accumulating snow. It won't take long. Friday, obviously, is supposed to be warmer, right? We're talking tomorrow afternoon. We could get close to 50. But then as we go into the evening, those temperatures are going to drop. So by 11 p.m., midnight, most areas will be below freezing. And then by the morning, Milledgeville on Saturday will be below freezing. And then definitely Sunday morning. I mean, we're talking, 13 degrees here and probably 15 or 16 down there. So I don't expect any of the snow to really have a chance to melt until Monday. Whatever does fall down here, and again, I think down here in Milledgeville, that would probably be some of those higher snowfall totals, maybe 4 or 5 inches potentially down there. So I do think that the road conditions on Sunday really won't be very, very travelable between here and Milledgeville. So, maybe closer to 3 inches is kind of what it's looking like down in that area, if I'm looking correctly here. I want to say it's kind of down, kind of between Macon and Augusta. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But, so that is one thing. So really the heaviest snowfall totals are going to be, again, I-20 and north through northeast Georgia. But again, we could see snow all the way down to Savannah, even down over here toward Macon, I-16. And that's where, when we're looking at our winter storm watch, you can see here, that's pretty much what they've outlined here for this winter storm watch. So pretty much, again, from North Georgia through the western side of Atlanta, right? That does include all of Fulton County, down through Henry County to the north side of Macon, east toward Dublin. Right? All of those areas are under that winter storm watch where you see this blue shading. This area here in the red on the left is what I was talking about, where we could see either an upgrade to a winter storm watch or a potential expansion for a winter weather advisory, which to me seems more likely unless we really see a dramatic continued westward shift in the track of this. I think they're starting to, again, confidence is definitely increasing for the Atlanta metro area to see snow, but still western Georgia is a little bit up in the air with the dry air and the briefer time period of potential snowfall there, with this system quickly moving off to the south and east. So this isn't going to be like our last storm where it's going to be, snowing for an entire day. It might be half a day, might be, from like 7 a.m. to potentially 7 p.m., but even that might be stretching it a little bit. So excellent question. Thanks for asking it there, Vanessa. So let's kind of take a look at our overall impact, right, for this upcoming winter storm. This is going to have different kind of impacts. This impact, I'll say with this winter storm, we're not going to have the power outage threat like we did with the ice storm that we just had, right? Because it's going to be all snow, so you really aren't going to have to have as big of a threat with, power lines coming down from ice and stuff like that. But this storm here, which is, again, going to be different from the last storm, is going to be more of a travel threat. Okay, so you can see here, this is for Saturday. So we can see here, the bullseye over here is kind of in the Carolinas, right? Especially Eastern Carolina, Outer Banks area. They're all the way up to this extreme threat. The red area is the major threat, and then most of us here in North Georgia are over in the moderate threat, and then the Atlanta area and westward is kind of in that minor threat because there's still a little bit of uncertainty. Catherine Davis asking Walton-Barrow County line. So Walton-Barrow County line, that's over here closer toward Monroe and the Watkinsville area here. We'll flip back to our snow chart. And again, this is that 15-to-1 ratio. So really, sometimes what I'll like to do is look at this ratio, look at the 10-to-1 ratio, and kind of be able to take a little bit of an average there between the two. So here is Walton County. That Walton-Barrow County line is looking right around 5 inches on the Kuchera ratio. And then over on our 10-to-1 ratio, which again, these ratios could vary from place to place. But even on this here, that area is still looking at a solid 3 inches. So you're really 3 to 5 inches potentially. You may see that in your weather app. You may not see that in your weather app, depending on which app you're looking at. I will say some weather apps kind of go a little extreme with some of these totals. Like I remember the last storm that we had, someone came up to me and was like, "Are we really going to get 7 inches of snow?" And I'm like, I don't know what weather app you're looking at, but no, we are not getting 7 inches of snow here in Georgia with this ice storm. We'll be lucky if we get any snow to fall from the sky, right? So you really have to be careful with some of those different applications that you are looking at with that. So again, feeling pretty confident, and I am being a little conservative with this still because that the exact track is going to make a huge difference. It's such a tight gradient. We can see here, even just from like 3 inches down to an inch. I mean, we're talking maybe a 30-mile difference from where you see 1 inch of snow to where you see 3 or 4 inches of snow. So very, very tight gradient. But in that area there, again, right now I would say 2 to 3 seems pretty reasonable there for eastern Walton County over toward Barrow County there. So thanks for asking the question. I will say as well, with this storm system, I mentioned it earlier, but it's not going to be that snow where you can really make a snowman. But this is really a great opportunity. Instead of making a snowman that you need that heavier wet snow for, you still can try. I'm not going to say don't try. But you can make great snow angels with this kind of snow. This is beautiful snow to make snow angels with. Or, draw in the snow and say, Meteorologist Joe is the greatest. Thank you so much. And then tag me in it on Facebook or tag Extreme Weather Videos in it. And we would love to share your photos. So if you get photos, get video, definitely send that in to me. Definitely want to see what you guys are up to out there this weekend. But it should be a great weekend. I think after going through the last ice storm, in all honesty, I truly believe that we deserve a snow day. So really praying that this actually pans out, and it pans out big for us. So, Austin and Allie saying Noah and Grayson are going to do their best to make a snowman. Maybe throw, a little food coloring in there or something like that. But it might have to be like a little 6-inch or 1 foot tall snowman. May not get a huge snowman out of this deal. So But road conditions, guys, are definitely going to be a big thing, I believe. And that'll start as early as Saturday morning again, because once the snow comes down, it's probably going to start sticking, I'd say, to the roads within an hour. Like, I don't think it's going to take very long. The first little bit might melt and just kind of help finish cooling down the roads in some areas, getting them to that below 32 degrees. Below 32 degrees there. And then from then on, the roads will stay covered. But the nice thing is, with this being that fluffy snow, the other thing that could be good for the roads is, especially if, as cars are driving on the roads and stuff like that, with it being fluffier, it kind of can drift a little bit more and get off the roads. But once, if we have any sort of, moisture on the roads or things like that, that's where you can get that very thin layer of ice as it hits the road, and if it melts, that can cause that little thin layer of ice to form in the road, and then the rest of the snow fall on top. So that is definitely going to be a concern with this, is if the roads aren't cool enough, and as the snow starts to fall, it melts and then freezes on the roads. That's where we can have a big black ice problem. So, definitely don't want to have another surgery date canceled for sure. Enjoy it from inside with a hot cup of chocolate. Yeah, definitely. And also a great weekend to have that fireplace going. So make sure you've got some nice dry wood. I've still got the wood from the last storm all ready to go. So I'll probably be using some of that this weekend. I am planning on being out on Saturday, doing a live stream during the day on Saturday, checking the road conditions and things like that. We'll be broadcasting that live throughout the day. So if you want to join us for our storm chase, our snowstorm chase, we'll be doing that on Saturday. We'll try and do our best to get out over toward South Carolina, assuming the road conditions permit us to. But we'll definitely be out there in the field reporting and shooting video and stuff like that for some of the different news networks. So definitely feel free to tag along with us on that chase. That would be fantastic to have you guys join us for our first winter storm chase that we may have this year. Maybe the only one that we get in this winter. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to continue taking your questions. I do want to go through a little bit more data, though, as I'm doing that. Because, again, throughout the day, we do continue to get data. One thing I did want to also touch on that I haven't really touched on tonight is those temperatures. Because this is going to probably be some of our most dangerous long-duration cold that we're going to see this winter, I believe. I do believe once we get into middle of February, we'll finally start to get back to a more normal where we should be in the mid-50s for this time of year. But we've got to get through this weekend before we get there. So here we go. So beautiful day tomorrow. We're expecting still a cold morning. I'm not going to lie. Still going to be in the 20s tomorrow morning. But then we will warm up into the upper 40s, maybe even hitting 50 degrees in some spots tomorrow afternoon, right? So there's Athens, 50, Atlanta, 49, maybe 50 out here, east. Oh, jumped forward. And then Friday night's where we're going to have that big temperature crash come in. So once we get below freezing Friday night, we may not get back above freezing until Monday around noontime. So again, this could be some places could see 60 to 70 hours with temperatures below freezing. So that is definitely a big concern. So by 4 a.m. Saturday morning, we're all below freezing. And then it is going to stay that way throughout the day. Literally, Saturday, it is just going to get colder. Typically, you think as the sun rises, the temperatures warm up, it's actually going to be doing the opposite on Saturday. As the sun rises, those temperatures are going to continue to drop. So Saturday morning at 7 a.m., we're in the mid to upper 20s. And then as we get into Saturday afternoon, we can see here Atlanta, we're already in the teens. And Athens, you're in the mid 20s, right? And then temperatures continue to drop as we go into 4 p.m. Yes, this is Saturday afternoon, right? Saturday afternoon. We're down into the teens and maybe hovering around 20. And this is, again, why we're expecting these snowfall totals to be so big, because of these extremely cold temperatures that we're going to be seeing Saturday afternoon, late morning into the afternoon, when the heaviest of the snow could be occurring. So this could really help to enhance those snowfall totals. And then once the sun goes down, I'm sorry guys, I just got more bad news here with the temperatures. Once the sun goes down, we're going to continue to see those temperatures drop. We're going to be dropping down into the low teens. Some places in North Georgia are going to get into the single digits. So, like Dahlonega, up here toward Cleveland, Helen, we're going to be in some of these single digits up here where they just had that big ice storm, right? And then here is Sunday. Sunday, again, I don't think we'll get above freezing. There's a very low chance we hit freezing, but here, this is 4 o'clock Sunday. You can see most of Atlanta and Athens were still below freezing at about 30, 31 degrees. South, again, will get above freezing. So Sunday afternoon, there would be a higher probability of any snow that does fall down here across more South Georgia, like down towards Savannah, Statesboro, those areas, even down here towards Milledgeville. Higher probability that the snow melts down there, and less of a probability of it melting here across North Georgia. So Central Georgia, snowfall starting to melt on Sunday, but not across North Georgia. And then we'll see those temperatures again Sunday evening continue to drop into the 20s. It won't be as cold, still cold, but it won't be as cold as what it was Saturday night into Sunday morning. So staying in the 20s through Monday morning. And then Monday, again, Monday will warm up. This is 1 o'clock Monday afternoon. We'll be in the 40s here in Atlanta, upper 30s in Athens. So Monday, we will, all that snow that is on the ground should melt by Monday afternoon. Any remaining snow. Meredith Dillard, you're doing a great job. What do you expect travel conditions to be around Loganville on Saturday evening? So again, Saturday evening, all that snow will have fallen by then. So I think travel conditions at that point in time will still be really rough. I think Saturday evening and then most of the day Sunday travel, especially north of I-20, anywhere north of I-20, I think could be, hazardous, especially if there's that thin layer of ice, and especially if you're not used to driving in snow, which, in all honesty, how many Georgians are used to driving in snow or have driven in snow consistently, right? It's very different than driving in rain. It can be done, but if you do have to go out on Saturday, make sure to use extreme caution. Leave plenty of space between you and any other drivers around you. And you're really going to have to, that's the other hazard, is if there is black ice underneath that snow, you're not going to see it until you hit it, right? So that's something you have to be mindful of if you're traveling at all on Saturday or Sunday. The main roads, I would imagine that those will be treated. So I think the main roads may be semi-passable depending on how well and how quickly they can treat those and keeping up with those. But again, it's all those hilly back roads, one-lane roads. That's where we're going to have a lot of the major problems Saturday and Sunday, even into Monday morning. For the Monday morning commute, I definitely believe will still be impacted across Atlanta. Not south of Atlanta as much, but definitely across Atlanta out towards Athens. I believe that Monday morning commute will be impacted. So it'll also depend on the winds that we have, which I haven't even really gotten to take a serious look at our wind forecast, but I do believe we're again expecting those winds to kind of pick up Saturday into Sunday. Let's kind of take a look here. So this is Saturday morning. Yeah, we'll have decent winds, 15, 20 mile per hour winds. So this could honestly, believe it or not, these winds that we have, especially on Saturday afternoon into the evening, it looks like, that could actually kind of cause the snow to drift up. Because it's that light, fluffy snow, it can actually cause it to kind of drift up in certain places. So, and as the snow's falling, we're going to have a major visibility problem with these winds and the snow blowing all over the place. I'm not saying it's going to be like blizzard conditions, but it is going to be hard to see. Visibility is going to be drastically reduced, maybe down to, a mile or two or something like that. Could be even lower at points in times with blowing snow. Right, that would be happening on Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening. Again, the snow should be finished falling probably, I would say, by 7 p.m. For the Atlanta metro, and then maybe later further south that you go. But again, with these winds, there still could be some blowing snow across the roads and stuff like that. So it is going to be hazardous travel conditions out there. I hope my poor plants stay warm enough in the garage. Yeah, that is definitely going to be a concern for a lot of people with this brutal cold that we're going to have Saturday night into Sunday morning. Speaking of brutal cold, take a look at some of these wind chills. Remember Tuesday morning? How many of you guys remember Tuesday morning, right? Here in the in North Georgia. It was very cold. Wind chills were down around 5 to 10 degrees, right? In some places in North Georgia, they got down to really close to below zero in some places. So look at some of these forecast wind chills. Again, this is just one model here. So even during the day on Saturday, we're talking some single-digit wind chills Saturday afternoon. Again, if temperatures are 18, 20 degrees and we got 15, 20 mile per hour winds blowing on Saturday, we're talking wind chills maybe down in the single digits. 1 for Atlanta, 15 for Athens. And then as we go overnight, we're talking wind chills below zero in many places here in North Georgia. And we're talking negative teens for far North Georgia. Joy, great to have you on here this evening. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about some of these wind chills here for Sunday morning. So even though the snow isn't going to be falling on Sunday, these temperatures and wind chills Sunday morning are going to be no joke. This is the kind of temperatures where if you are outside for more than 10 minutes, you can start having frostbite, right? So it doesn't take very long. And us here in Georgia, we're not used to these kind of negative wind chills that we could see again for a prolonged period on Sunday morning. So I mean by 4 a.m., 7 a.m., it's really not till 10 a.m. that we get those wind chills even back into the single digits Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, still in the teens. And then Sunday night, again, keeping the wind chill cold. But that Saturday night into Sunday morning, it is going to be extremely, extremely cold, dangerously cold for any sensitive population. So make sure you have a place warm to be throughout the day on Saturday and especially into Sunday morning, because this is going to be the coldest air that we have seen so far of the winter and in 2026. So excellent question. Excellent question. Thanks for asking it. The good news is once we get beyond next Monday afternoon, right, as I mentioned, we'll get up into the 40s on Monday, so that snow will definitely all be gone by Monday. We'll kind of see a more moderation of temperatures. Even Tuesday, finally getting up into the 50s. So starting to see more what we should be seeing for this time of year once we get past this weekend. Looking at the long range forecast here. Let's see here. go. There's Wednesday, yeah. So, I mean, 40s, still in the 40s and 20s. This is February 8th. It's really not going to be until mid-February that we kind of break these 20 mornings, right? There we go, February 12th, we're finally at 55 and lows in the 30s. So it's going to be these first 2 weeks of February. It's still going to be cold. This weekend is going to be one of the coldest weekends for sure that we've seen across much of Georgia. I'm hoping for a snow day Monday. I think all of us are. I don't know how quickly it will melt on Monday. It could be one of those situations where let's kind of take a closer look. Let's go to our short range and get through Monday, kind of get a better idea of hour by hour on Monday, what time we get above freezing. Oh, this only goes through Sunday night. Let me make sure that's the latest. Ooh, here we go. Does this get us into Monday? Nope. So we won't know the Monday forecast, the detailed Monday forecast, probably till tomorrow morning or afternoon once we get the next model run in, high resolution model run in. But one other thing that I want to talk about too is obviously we take a look at multiple models, right? We take a look at the Euro, we take a look at the GFS. We have the different kinds of snow ratios that we're looking at. So this is kind of a blend of all the different models and kind of what it is thinking. So this is why, again, it just gives us the idea that we're expecting lower snowfall totals over Atlanta, higher snowfall totals as you move east towards Athens, right? So this is, again, showing us that there's still the potential for snow even all the way over to the Alabama border. And then we're, again, major snowfall potential across parts of South Carolina into North Carolina. Do I think this is when we're talking, you'll see those probabilities, right? The probability of snowfall. Let's kind of take a look at some of those because we haven't looked at those. Let's zoom in here across Georgia. Let me bring my page down here for you guys. And we got another question. Showing my screen here. Temperatures and wind chill so brutally cold, other than scraping the roads, how effective will road treatment measures be on Saturday night, Sunday morning? Well, the good news is if they do plow the roads Saturday night into Sunday morning after the snow has fallen, the only threat I would say would be, if it is really windy and gusty with the light snow, with the snow being so light, it potentially drifting back onto the roads, into especially like some of the shoulders and maybe the edges of some of the lanes and stuff like that. But I feel like if they were able to treat it and then plow it Saturday night and Sunday morning, the roads would probably, for the most part, be able to stay clear. Because, again, we're not really expecting one of those melting and refreezing type of situations to occur with this in most areas where it does stay below freezing for, that extended period of time. Any melting and refreezing, the earliest melting potential for the snow is going to be Sunday afternoon. So it will be whatever falls in your area will be on the ground all day on Saturday through definitely the first part of the day on Sunday. And the earliest melting will be, if you do get above freezing, Sunday afternoon for an hour or two. That's where you could see some melting. And then once those temperatures drop, see that refreeze. There is that potential. I think it's a a fairly low potential for the melt and refreeze, but not a non-zero potential. It is possible because some areas may get, more sun. It's going to be nice and sunny on Sunday, so areas that do warm up fairly quickly with the type of snow it is, with it being that powdery snow too, it can melt a little bit faster. So there is the potential for there to be some issues Sunday afternoon into Monday morning. So black ice threat is definitely there. It's accounted for in some of that winter storm severity index that we looked at earlier. So that's my thoughts on the road conditions there Saturday night into Sunday morning. But again, they're not going to, they don't come out and plow neighborhoods and stuff like that unless it's like a private contractor or something like that that's doing that. But main interstates and highways and state routes and stuff like that, a lot of that they will be treating and hopefully plowing and stuff like that. So if you can get to those roads, you might be fine on Sunday if they're clear. And we'll definitely be out. And, I will say Georgia 511, their website, you can, take a look at some of those traffic cameras and stuff like that. That's a great resource to be able to kind of look around your area, your specific area, and see what the road conditions are like out there. All right, so this is our probability charts here that we like to take a look at here at Extreme Weather Videos, and see kind of what the probability of snowfall, in this case, being greater than 1 inch as we go through the day. So this is Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning, this Saturday evening at about 6 p.m. So you can see here we're sitting at about snowfall being greater than 1 inch from Atlanta. Atlanta pretty much is at that 40 to 50%, and then it goes up 10% for every color. So here through, Stone Mountain, Lilburn, we're in the 50 to 60% range. Snellville through Loganville out toward Monroe, we're at that 60 to 70% range. East of Monroe up through like Auburn and Windsor, those areas, you're at that 70 to 80%. And then once you get out to Athens, you're getting close to that 90% plus range east of Athens. So again, you can see it's a pretty tight gradient there. So that's 1 inch. 2 inches is about the same, not a whole lot of shift east. So even Snellville and those areas, we're still looking at a solid 40 to 50% chance of snowfall being greater than 2 inches, equal to or greater than 2 inches. Once we get up to 4 inches, again, not a non-zero chance here. Obviously, it goes down above 4 inches, but we're still looking at, for much of eastern Georgia here through Monroe, Snellville, Lawrenceville, all of these areas here still, a solid 10 to 20% chance of having more than 4 inches of snow. And then even more than 6 inches of snow, they're still giving us a 5% chance of seeing more than 6 inches of snow by Saturday night. So, and again, that just, again, when you see these percentages here as you go up, it just shows you the variability of where the snow is going to be. Again, looks like some of the heaviest snow, as you can see here by this, looking to be up here in the Charlotte area, between Charlotte and Greensboro, kind of that I-85 corridor up there through Statesville, and then obviously back here into the mountains. So, but that there is, and obviously it kind of changes over time throughout the day and Sunday, late Saturday night, and then there's Sunday morning. As that coastal low develops here, it's really going to ramp up across eastern North Carolina there. So if you've got family that's living in North Carolina, really anywhere in North Carolina, there's a pretty good shot that a good bit of North Carolina sees, more than 4 inches of snow as we go from Saturday into Sunday. So definitely, I think North Carolina is going to, and the Outer Banks is going to kind of be some of the bullseye for that. For Georgia, I think really the bullseye for snow, I would say, is basically from, Toccoa, Clayton, kind of down 129 here area through Cornelia down toward Athens, and then Athens kind of going southeast, maybe toward Washington, and then down toward Augusta. I think that's going to kind of be the bullseye area for our snow totals here in Georgia. And then obviously west of Georgia, I mean, Alabama, place in Alabama might see some snow flurries and stuff like that, but not really expecting much of any sort of accumulation in Alabama, except for maybe far northern and northeastern Alabama. Could see some Friday night into early Saturday morning as the system kind of gets up and going. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys as far as seeing some of those probability charts. And again, this could look different tomorrow. When we do our live stream, we could see those probabilities shift south or east or west. There is still some variation in the exact storm track. Last night we had kind of looked at basically the three different scenarios that we were seeing, and we were seeing one scenario basically kind of taking the storm basically across the Georgia-South Carolina border, one scenario taking it, down along 75 and 16, and then one scenario pretty much taking it down along 75 and then over toward Brunswick, Georgia. So the furthest south scenario, which would give us some of those highest snowfall totals as we go through the day on Saturday. So that is definitely something that we will be keeping an eye on as we go through the day on Saturday. It could look very different in one neighborhood versus another. Again, I think out east of where I live, I think that winter storm severity is definitely going to be very different. And let's take a look real quick again. This, if you're just joining us, this is the winter storm severity map that we were talking about. So you can see pretty much as you come to Atlanta, we're in that minor threat as we go from Friday into Saturday. And then that threat shifts to more of that moderate threat out here towards Athens. And then once we get out here to South Carolina, that threat is obviously much greater the further east you get. You can see a much more major threat here, even over toward Columbia, South Carolina, where some of those places could easily get 6 or more inches of snow out there across the Carolinas, where they could have half a foot or more. So definitely something we'll be keeping a close eye on here as we go through really the next 24 hours. Again, I think that we'll have that winter storm warning issued at some point in time tomorrow. Could be late tomorrow morning into early afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised. Typically, they'll put it out about 24 hours in advance. So considering we're expecting to see the snow Saturday morning, I would expect the National Weather Service in Atlanta to be upgrading that watch to a warning, starting with those northern counties, then kind of working their way down. But most likely they'll just kind of upgrade the entire area that is under that watch to a warning. And we'll have to kind of keep an eye on how those totals adjust upward. Do they stay the same or trend slightly downward? As we're still really waiting on that upper level low to kind of form, and then that low to move off of the coast of Georgia and develop over the Gulf Stream waters. All right, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for your guys' questions. So go ahead, if you're just joining us on the live stream right now, hop in that live chat for me, log in with your Google account, and you can hop in that live chat right there and ask your questions. I know we've got people watching. Looks like we got about 12, 14 people that are on here, so I want to make sure I get your guys' questions answered, because that's kind of one thing that I do like doing is taking your guys' questions, because I know on some of these, larger channels and stuff like that, it's hard for them to be able to answer everyone's question and stuff like that. So I do want to give you guys that opportunity. If you've got a question about your area, or maybe I've had some people asking me about traveling to an area and some of the different impacts that we could be expecting this weekend, definitely feel free to ask those questions. You can also send me a message over on Facebook Messenger through my page, Meteorologist Joseph Pisani, and I'll see that and reply to you as quickly as I can as well. So, but again, the nice thing is with this, with it being all snow, again, we're not going to have the, same like power outage threat. We're not going to have the ice on the trees. We're not even really very unlikely that we have any sort of significant, icing on the roads even, unless, we get some melting or, again, as I said earlier, the snow falls. The roads aren't fully below freezing yet. They melt, and then the snow kind of piles up on top of that. There is that threat to happen. That's kind of, in a sense, a little bit what happened back in Snowmageddon. We had that snowfall, and it melted and kind of froze, and then the other snow continued to fall on top of it. So, but again, we're in Atlanta. We've kind of learned from that. So, but with this being on a Saturday, early in the morning, by the time most people wake up, we're going to know what the roads are like and whether they're safe or not for us to really be out there and traveling on them and stuff like that. So we'll know by Saturday as far as any weekend plans and stuff like that, if those roads are safe to be driven on. I did mention the winter storm watch that is in effect, but there's also not only that, we also do have that, we talked about those temperatures earlier. We do also have an extreme cold watch that is in effect for pretty much all of Georgia, in all honesty. And this is going to start on Saturday evening, and it will go all the way through Sunday afternoon. And again, that's talking about, they've issued this extreme cold watch here because of that threat of those very dangerous wind chills, which could range from 10 below zero in the North Georgia mountains to near zero in the single digits in parts of central Georgia. So again, that goes into effect Saturday evening all the way through Sunday afternoon. So pretty much once the sun goes down 5, 6 o'clock till Sunday afternoon, probably around 2, 3 p.m. once we get those wind chills to kind of settle down. I want to see because I know there were still some power outages even in North Georgia, I believe. Or did they get all of that? No, they pretty much got all of Northeast Georgia back online. So that is good news. That is great news for them. Still a lot of power outages though out there in Tennessee and Mississippi. I mean, the numbers are coming down, which is good. We're under 250,000 folks still without power, but still, I mean, imagine being 5 days, 4 or 5, going on 5 days now without power out there in parts of Mississippi and Tennessee. That, with this cold weather, that is really, really rough. And sadly, we've already had, due to Winter Storm Fern, which was the last storm that came through, we've already had 40 confirmed fatalities due to the winter storm. Could be arranged from cold-related illnesses to falling trees, all related to the winter storm. So that is definitely it really was quite a historic winter storm that we saw here this last weekend across so much of the eastern 2/3 of the country, really. All right, I'll give you guys just another minute here, and then we'll probably wrap this live stream up here tonight. So if you didn't get your question answered, just drop me a message either in the comments on this video here, and I'll reply to it, or shoot me a message over on our Facebook page. We'll be doing another live stream tomorrow evening, probably maybe a little bit later is what I'm thinking, so we're really within, 6 hours of the event. We'll be able to really dive into our high-resolution model data because we'll be within 24 hours. So definitely make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you're not, just hit that subscribe button. That's right down below this video there. And that way you'll get notified. Make sure you also have those notifications on. That way you'll get a push notification to your phone. Or if you're watching on desktop and you've got YouTube open, you'll get a notification saying Extreme Weather Videos, we're live. So that would be a great way for you to keep connected with us. Also, if someone missed this live stream, share this video with them. Send them an email. Get it out there so that they've got the latest information as we get closer to this winter storm. But again, confidence increasing in snow totals. Going up here across portions from the Atlanta metro eastward over into the Carolinas. Really, I'd say 1 inch to 2 inches for Atlanta, 2 to 3 for the Snellville area, and 3, potentially up to 5 out as you get toward Athens is kind of what we're looking at. And then once you get over into South Carolina, we could easily be seeing a solid 4 to 6 inches, someplace even higher than that, up to 8 inches in some places. Definitely not out of the question. But thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for our live stream, and then Saturday throughout the day, live coverage across Georgia and the Carolinas, hopefully. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great evening, and we'll see you guys on our next live stream. Appreciate all you guys for supporting Extreme Weather Videos. Stay safe out there.